Time being 6 o'clock, call the Board of Health meeting to order. All members are present with the exception of Clay Kelly. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, first item on our agenda tonight are public announcements, specifically announcements from the Health Department. At this time, I will turn things over to our Health Agent, Chris Schultz.
I just have two announcements tonight. First, as I'm sure everybody is aware, we have a solar eclipse coming up on April 8th. Our particular area of Massachusetts is in the path of, I believe, 95% totality, so it's going to be a pretty exciting event. We have a very limited supply of solar eclipse viewing glasses available in the Health Department. So if people want to stop by during regular business hours, we'll be happy to provide you with one. I am going to limit it to one per person, or if you have kids, let us know. But like I said, we have a very limited supply, but we're happy to provide them. In other news, just wanted to let people know that both myself and our public health nurse, Lindsay, will be out of town next week attending the Preparedness Summit 2024 in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a 4-day conference on emergency preparedness, which is one of the many things the health department is tasked with. So if you need us, Eddie Murphy will be in the office taking calls, and we're available by phone or email. That's all I got for announcements.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? All right. With none, moving forward. So you're supposed to have a public appointment at 6:05 p.m., but I do not see that appointment in the audience.
Do you want me to move the table for now until the
Yep,
gentleman
I think that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to stall on that slightly by actually just going slightly out of order and doing the health agent report first, because it isn't quite 6:05. Give them till 6:05, and then we'll move on with the agenda. So, Chris, if I can move over to your health agent report, we'll just pick things up from there for the moment.
Okay. So everybody should have a copy of the report. We had quite a few inspections in the last couple of weeks. Yaz's table, Deanne's, Giardino's was a reinspection, Amoto Garden was a reinspection, Sorrel, Martin's was reinspected, Aroma Pizza, Abington House of Pizza, Sarcastic Swine, Pizzing's, Go Fresh, Subway, and 7-Eleven. I'm happy to say, so when we do an inspection report, there is a numerical rating that comes out, a sort of score based on the number of violations versus non-violations. I'm happy to report that Yaz's table had a 100. They had a perfect score on their inspection. So we actually presented them with a certificate of excellence and appreciation for keeping the public safe. Priority violations, we had 8 issued amongst that group of restaurants listed. As far as complaints that we received in the health department, we got 1 complaint of a mouse infestation. Spoke with the building manager, and exterminators are currently working to resolve that problem. As a side note, I have noticed a large uptick in calls about mice. Last year it was rats. We're getting a lot of calls about mice. We had a very warm winter. Population hasn't had a chance to die off, so we're probably going to have a very busy mouse spring. I received a call of flies inside bags of rice at Walmart's. I went to the store. Management had already removed all the affected product and was aware of it. Complaint of dumpsters being emptied before 7 a.m. Trash hauler and business owner were contacted that by town regulation, trash cannot be picked up before 7 a.m. We have a complaint of illegal dumpsters on the property. A correction order has been written on that. We got an accusation of a store selling expired products. That was addressed and corrected. And then finally, today, I did have 1 property that I issued an emergency condemnation order for. The occupant was safely relocated to an assisted living facility and will be kept there until the dwelling is brought up to code. And that's my report.
I have a question. The ContraPest units that we had used and deployed last year, would those also be effective towards mice as well?
So SenseTech, which is the company that makes the chemical, so they have their EPA rating is for rats only. However, it's a rodenta, well, it's not a rodenticide, but a rodent contraceptive. It should be effective on mice and squirrels and chipmunks as well. They just can't state that. I did provide that particular building with a bunch of them to try, because,
Cool.
can't hurt, so.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, time now being 6:05, and we still do not see our public appointment in the audience with us. We are going to move ahead without that appointment. So, as the next item on our agenda is a discussion and possible vote on the town meeting article regarding nip bottles. I declare a public comment portion open for the discussion of this agenda item. The purpose of this comment period is to assist the Board of Health in determining whether they should rescind the warrant article submitted for the annual town meeting regarding the prohibition of the sale of alcoholic beverages in containers less than or equal to 100 milliliters as requested by members of the public. For context, the warrant article, as drafted, reads, to see if the town will vote to amend the alcoholic beverages bylaw to add section 7-4 as follows. The sale of alcoholic beverages in containers less than or equal to 100 milliliters is prohibited within the town of Abington, effective January 1st, 2025. Few ground rules here as we begin accepting comments. Individuals wishing to speak this evening will be allotted to 3 minutes for their comments. We ask that you please wait to be called on to make a public comment and that you state your name, address, and pertinent affiliation with the town when approaching the podium to speak. Testimony will be limited to the prohibition of sales of alcoholic beverages in containers less than or equal to 100 milliliters as proposed for the town meeting warrant. Any audience member that applaud, booed, or otherwise intimidate speakers will be asked to leave this meeting in accordance with the open meeting law. The Board of Health will not be answering questions during the public comment period tonight, debating or devolving into sidebar conversations with those commenting this evening. We will not be accepting repeat speakers this evening, but we do encourage you to submit further comments in writing to the board using the contact form on our town's website. You may send those directly to me as chair or to the health department. We will happily share those with the rest of the board. With that being said, I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your evening to be here and take part in protecting and directing the public health of the town of Abington. With that, I would now open the floor. If you'd like to make a public comment, please raise your hand and you may approach the podium. Yep, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ravi Patel. I'm from Billy's Liquors, right across from Abington Walmart. It came
Could you
to
also please just state your address?
it's 760 Brockton Ave, Abington.
Is that your address?
Oh, my address is 615 Woodlands Way, Abington.
Thank you.
You go.
Yes, so it came to our attention that the town is looking to ban the nips and 100 ml, anything under 100 ml. So it's a concern for us. We're a small business. And instead of, speaking of litter, when we see litter, we just don't see nip bottles out there. We see Dunkin' Donuts cup, we see Burger King bags, paper bags every day, And so I think looking at that, we shouldn't single pick one specific industry for the litter option. And people who have a habit of throwing nips bottle, the next size up, if you ban the nips and 100 ml, it will be 200 mLs and 375s. And those are made with glass. So if they have the habit of throwing nips, they will also throw glass bottles now. And it will not be a good thing to do. People will have a lot of tire flats. And another issue is if Abington's the only town that's doing it, then we got Whitman, we got Rockland, we got Weymouth. All these towns didn't do anything. And those can be a negative impact on our business, because if they didn't do the ban, all these people are gonna go for nip shopping. They're gonna shop their other products to the other towns' stores, and we will lose all those customers. And at the end of the day, we're small business owners. So we also have to support our families on that business, So it would be a great idea if there was an alternative way of like cleaning up or something we can do to address that issue, instead of banning it. If the state bans it completely, then we are okay with it. But if local towns don't ban it And if one town bans it, others don't, it will greatly impact our business, you know? And it will create such a problem.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Yeah, come on up. Just a reminder, please state your name, address, and affiliation to the town.
Hi, my name is Rahul Shah. I'm from Abington Liquors, 585 Washington Street, and my address is 335 South Washington Street in North Attleboro. And most of my points are going to be elaborating what he said and emphasizing what he said. Obviously, you know, the big issue is the size up. I agree with it. The 100 mLs, the 200 mLs are all glass. I'd rather have plastic trash than broken glass trash on the streets. Second is people, you know, mostly they throw litter close to the liquor stores. So we can, you know, if trash is an issue, we can have a little create employment, have guys clean up the sides of the streets close to the stores, keep that area, just not the store area, but like a little bit outside on the road, because that's usually when most of the trash is what we've seen is. So that's that, and of course, it's going to affect our business. It's going to affect, it's a good significant portion of our business, and as he said, you know, we are small businesses. It's going to hurt us a lot trying to keep afloat. So those are the main 3 points that, you know, why we are against it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to make any comments during this time? Yep, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Richard Mullen. I live at 707 Plymouth Street, Route 58. My next door neighbor is the Honeydew. It's a fantastic next door neighbor. But Route 58 is not such a good neighbor. I have a pickup stick that I got from Lowe's years ago. I've worn it out, picking up cigarette butts and trash that land on my yard and sidewalk whenever the traffic backs up from the stoplight, which is all the time. I can sympathize with the business owners worrying about one element of the pollution that occurs out here. But in my opinion, you need to start attacking pollution somewhere, somehow. Plastic is a never-ending environmental disaster. And somewhere you have to start. When we learned that the board was considering putting this motion before the town to vote on, I consider it to be a good start. It should be put to the voters to determine whether it's something we want our town to do. So I encourage you to definitely put it on the agenda for the upcoming town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments to make during this period? Yep, come on up.
Justin Van Nest, 193 Colonial Road in Abington. So I'm just thinking, the issue, I guess, tonight is not so much whether the ban is bad or good. I think that's to be determined by the voters in the future. So I think what we need to do is at least allow the vote to happen. We've got a lot of people in town who have a lot of opinions, and they should bring them to the meeting and demonstrate how they feel about it and how it impacts them. I think it's unfortunate that it will adversely affect businesses in the town, but they're selling a product that's potentially hazardous to people's health and to people who are out on the road. And so I think it's worth at least letting the voters decide, as opposed to just taking it off the agenda without giving everybody a voice. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. We're not allowing repeat speakers, but we will have an opportunity for comment on the rest of the agenda later this evening. So feel free at that time as well. Anything else on public comment at this time? Seeing none, before we close the period, there was an email that was provided to us for comments for somebody that couldn't make it that wanted that, so we will read that just to include and for the record, and then we will close the public comment period to resume deliberation on the matter. So this came in today. Dear board members, I understand there is an item on your agenda concerning a possible ban on miniature liquor bottles or nips. I want to share my support for this measure as an Abington resident. I live on Route 139/Randolph Street, and nips comprise a significant portion of the litter found weekly in our front yard. When we mow our lawn, we find 5 to 10 nip bottles each week. While I recognize that trash itself is not the problem, and that people who litter are the problem, nips come with specific issues other than that other forms of litters do not. Even if we clean them up, nip bottles are not recyclable. They also pose a danger to pets being walked down our street who may ingest them. Additionally, it seems that many who buy nips aren't responsible customers who intend to consume them safely and responsibly. Unfortunately, it is evident from the large number of nip bottles thrown from car windows onto our lawn that the intent of many who buy nips is to drink them while driving. The city of Chelsea banned nips in 2018. According to WBZ News, in the year prior to the ban, the city received 742 alcohol-related emergency calls. Following the passage of the ban, the number of similar calls decreased to 128. Given the negative impacts of nips on both environmental and public health, it seems clear that banning the sale of nips would be beneficial to our town and state. I encourage you to adopt a ban on nips, as we previously have on plastic bags and styrofoam cups, with great results. So that came in as well. And a copy of that was sent to the board, so everybody has the record of that. So with that, we're going to close the public comment
I
period.
have another one there, Aaron.
Oh, you have another one? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So this was sent through me through a social media platform for my Board of Health page, and it's from Carissa Morales, whose address is 24 Grants Place. And she said, Katie, I'm reaching out regarding tonight's discussion of potentially ban the selling of nip-sized beverages in Abington. I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting due to work, but I wanted to voice my complete support in the effort. Abington has done so much over the years to make this a community people are proud to call home for hosting fun family-friendly events, including community cleanup days and preserving and maintaining open green spaces throughout the town. Unfortunately, litter continues to be an issue for the town, especially on the main roadways, and a bulk of this litter is nips. Abington is already battling PFAS contamination on our water supply. Let's take steps to prevent any further harm to our local environment with additional plastic waste. Many thanks, Carissa.
Thank you, Katie. Before I close, is there anybody I missed with extra? No? Okay. All right, with that, public comment is closed. So this opens up into our discussion sort of period on this. Obviously, the question before us is whether to rescind this as a town meeting article. What are the thoughts of the board on this?
I'd like to see it go forward and go to the town. I agree that that's democracy, we've already discussed it. We've had complaints from people in the town. There was a gentleman who brought in an enormous bag of nip bottles. And so we know that townspeople want this to be addressed, and I think we need to bring it to vote.
I concur that we should move it forward. I think we actually do have the power to on our own, eliminate, nips in town, but I think it's a more conservative approach to bring it to the full body of the town at the town meeting in April, and I think that's the most prudent way to do it. I mean, I think in my own experience, walking, around a loop around Washington Street, and you see every time dozens and dozens of bottles, and it's one of those things, although, I understand the gentleman's, business concerns. I think at the same time, it's, where we can find a solution, we should work to eliminate any litter or pollution. So I'm forward, in agreement that we should move forward with the warrant article to move forward to the April town meeting.
I think I've expressed this before. I'm for putting it to the residents. I struggle with, we are in such a saturated area that we can harm these small business owners when, honestly, I'm close to the Rockland border. It's easier for me to go to Rockland than I do go to all your stores too, don't worry. But I wish there was more effort at the state level. Maine offers deposits on NIPS. I wish there was an opportunity to work more collaboratively with the full communities. My concern is, the look of nip bans in Massachusetts are all pretty affluent communities, which they may have a liquor store in town, so it's very easy to ban them already. We should put it to the voters. My only concern is if it does get voted down, it puts us behind in terms of getting people on board later down the road. I'm curious to see how this will go. I I struggle with it because I don't want to see the litter, but also someone who lives on the corner of, I call it Coffee Corner, with the Mary Lou's and the Dunkins and the Dairy Queen and the Wendy's. There's a lot of that. That's not just us, or not just Nips, but, we also don't see as many plastic bags anymore, because that's slowly been, you know, we were at the forefront of that, and now you see paper bags everywhere. So I'm on the fence, but I like to see it go, just so that residents have a chance to voice their opinions. They also had a chance tonight, but, you know, it's easier at a larger meeting, so.
I'd like to add one additional factor too. I think one of the main differences between, this type of waste and other types of litter is that the small nature of the bottles, they get into the catch basins, which then flow into the rivers and streams and go into wetlands and things like that, which is much different than, I think, although all trash and litter is bad, I think that, there is a difference between the litter of like bigger items that are easier to pick up than the nips. And like I said, they can get into catch basins and flow into the waterways. And I can see it on my own. I live on a small pond, and whenever we have a fairly large storm, the nip bottles will come up over the, over the river bank and be in my yard, so.
I'm essentially indifferent to the direction that we take on this, from the sense of, I've been that way with plastic bags, where we get into this habit of banning things, and does it always solve the problem? I don't know. But recent memory serves me well to say, when, in the past 6 years that I've been on the board, when something has come up for us to ban, it has always usually been the will of the voters to want to ban it, or when we try to do it, we got met with a lot of resistance. So us putting that up to the town, I think, is probably the best choice for us to do, because that lets the rest of the town make that decision.
Exactly.
Plastic bags specifically, that came before the board and was shot down by the board, and the town overwhelmingly voted to pass that because it was something that they wanted to do. So that, I think, was the intent of my bringing this up to everybody's, opinion in the first place. And we have an obligation to regulate nuisances and investigate nuisances as they come up. This has been complained to us as a nuisance on a regular basis. So I think this is just us as the Board of Health doing our due diligence to ask the town whether it is enough of a nuisance for it to be regulated. I think that's a fairly fair thing to ask of the town. So that's my thoughts on that. So we can entertain action at this time, or table it, or not entertain any action. It's just up to the rest of the board.
I'd make a motion to table it, because that would just push the warrant article to go forward. So I would make a motion to table the item.
So that it would remain,
It would remain a town meeting article.
I'll second you, Kevin.
We have a motion to table the item, a second from Katie. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that will remain. I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. I know things maybe worked out differently than you wanted to or whatever, but it does mean a lot that you come and be a part of this. Assuming this is on the town meeting warrant, I encourage you, especially as an Abington resident, if you are, to come be a part of that conversation with the rest of the town. Us voting this way doesn't put it into effect or anything like that. This is just another layer that the rest of the town's got to make that decision on, so, okay. Okay, I do see that our public appointment has arrived. I will be kind and ask the board if they'd be willing to go back to doing that at this time.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
okay. So, Mr. Armstrong, do you want to join us up?
How are we doing today?
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, you were aware that the hearing started at 6:05, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was here at like 6:03.
Because when you walked in, it was a little after 6:05, probably 6:10,
All right,
so
all
that's
right.
all. Either way, we're going to get through
Good
this. The way this kind of thing works, we are just going to hear from the health agent, who's going to kind of give us an overview of what's going on.
Indeed.
We'll give you a chance to respond and
Yep.
kind of answer some things that went on. The public will have an opportunity, and then we'll deliberate on the matter. Does everything make sense there?
Yep.
Awesome. So, Chris, I will turn things over to you.
Okay. So as you guys know, I'm the agent of the board, and I'm an inspector. So I'm just going to present you the facts as I have them. So there was a permit application made for calendar year 2022 to open up Teffy's Restaurant and Bar at 800 Brockton Ave. Mr. Joe Armstrong is the owner and manager. And the allergen awareness and food protection manager certification was under a Douglas Pereira at that time. During calendar year 2023, I do not have any record in our office of a application being made to renew the permit for 2023. We did overgo a big move from paper to digital documents during that time. So I'm not 100% sure to say, whether we received something or not, but at any rate, there was no permit issued to operate for calendar year 2023. During calendar year 2023, I received several calls from Mr. Douglas Pierre that he was no longer working there, but his credentials were still being used for the food allergen and the food protection manager. That's just that. So at some point this past year during 2023, I was called into a meeting with the police chief and the fire chief, our building inspector, and Mr. Armstrong. It appeared that some sort of arrangement was made that Teffy's was being sublet and run by a different group of people. According to the Massachusetts Combined Federal Food Code, a food establishment permit is not transferable. If there's a change in ownership of the establishment, then that food permit is null and void, and a new one needs to be issued. So anything that occurred during the 2023 calendar year up to present is the responsibility of the owner on paper, which is Mr. Armstrong. Our health inspector from Alsco did an inspection of the establishment on December 29th, 2023, and immediately contacted me with very, very serious concerns for health and safety. At that time, there was wastewater coming through the taps that is supposed to be potable water coming out. There was a number of issues in the kitchen. I think I sent the entire board a copy of the inspection report. All the hand sinks were blocked and were obviously not in use. Warewash machines were full of stagnant water and mold. The sanitary conditions in there were nowhere near up to code. There was rodent droppings all over the floor. I immediately issued a cease and desist and closed the establishment per the health department until that could be met. In the meeting that we had with Mr. Armstrong and other town officials, he had stated that he was not happy with the arrangement with these folks from Teffy's. And the suggestion was made to let the food permit run out at the end of the year and just not renew, and that was the case. So currently, there is no permit to operate at all, anything at that establishment. 800 Brockton Ave is not permitted to be a restaurant, is not permitted to serve or prepare food. And in fact, there is still an active order that that restaurant be closed per the Board of Health. As of 4:45 today, the placard that I placed in the door has been removed. The only person in Abington or the state of Massachusetts that can legally remove that placard is myself, and I have not been there since I placed it. You all have a picture of that was taken today. Additionally, there is a business listing on Facebook and other social media for Angry Tomato that lists 800 Brockton Ave as the place of business, including posts on Facebook on February 23rd stating that they were open for business at 800 Brockton Ave, available for food pickup. So that's not in-store eating, that's picking up from the establishment. Regardless of where the food might be made or transported to, there is no permit to operate any type of food establishment at 800 Brockton Ave at this time. So that is the facts that I have at the moment. I think that covered everything.
Okay. Mr. Armstrong, you're coming before us tonight for a request to operate with a request for a food establishment permit. Do you have an application with you this evening?
Right here,
Can you just hand that to our health agent?
sure, as well as my Serve Safe and allergen.
Okay, thank you.
And can I add to something?
No, you're going to be allowed to respond to all of that in a moment. I'm just going to ask Chris, if you can review that, make sure everything's in order while we're chatting, that'd be great. So yeah, floor is all yours, Mr. Armstrong, you can respond to all of that. Just let us
On
know.
the advertisements, Chris, I talked to Chris earlier, he had mentioned the one to me about pickup. It was actually pop-up. I went and looked back, it was supposed to be a pop-up, you know what I mean? I work out of another kitchen in Hanover and whatnot, but what we're doing is just basically trying to advertise ahead of time, I'm, selling gift cards, trying to get pre-orders. Absolutely nothing is being cooked there. Gas is not even on.
Can you elaborate what you mean by pop-up?
Pop-up. spur of the moment type thing, you know what I mean?
So you're like the pop-up restaurant, is that what you're trying to say?
No, not a
Or,
pop-up
you're
restaurant,
like-
like, just a pop-up, you know, I mean, get your orders in soon.
So
you know what I
people
mean?
are still, they have been able to pick up orders from this address?
No, nobody has.
So so a pop-up would be an
We're
actual tending,
trying
you're
to
just trying to get
anticipate
ahead of
orders,
time,
yeah.
do pre-orders for an anticipated date of opening?
Indeed.
Okay.
Thank you, and sorry for any misconfusion.
No, I appreciate you clarifying that, but, so the real thing here, right, so we're looking at the opportunity to give you a food establishment permit here. There are a lot of violations that are listed here. Can you elaborate on what you've done to rectify those within the
Indeed,
building?
I'm in the process now of rectifying everything on that list. Again, you know, as we talked at the meeting, Teffy's was supposed to buy me out a while ago. You know, I mean, this never happened, I never got paid, I never signed anything over to them until I got paid. They left me in really bad situation, not just with Chris, with the alcohol board as well. You know, I mean, there was a violation one night, no, 2 nights there. And, you know, it was just a situation that had to end, and I've tried to take my restaurant back. I've shown up there with the police one night, and I locked the doors, they cut the locks. The police told me basically I had no right to do that, and I have no right to be here, even though I'm the leaseholder and all license holder, you know what I mean? My attorney, he's involved in this. He's building the case against them now. We're trying to finish up another case before we can start this one, you know what I mean? But yes, they left me in a very bad situation, and I've been in there quite a bit, you know, trying to get everything back going. I never had a problem with the Board of Health ever in my career. Minor things, you know, you need paper towels, you need soap, you know, but as far as I know, even with being open in Abington, I never had a problem.
Right, pardon me, but I don't know that you answered my question that I was looking for there, is what are you doing specifically? So you had sewage coming that wasn't being disposed of properly, there's rat droppings in places, are those things being rectified?
Yes, yes.
Can you elaborate on what things have been rectified for us?
I have an electrician in, I have a plumber in as well, taking care of my dish machine. As far as rodents, I've set traps, I've set bait around, I haven't seen any in a few weeks, you know what I mean?
Okay.
We do have pest control on site. They're there once a week, you know what I mean? That's for the whole plaza as well, you know?
On the sewer coming through the tap, are there the necessary, like, backflow preventers, like, with the water? I mean, that's the obvious question. There should be a
Yeah, I just had
backflow.
my grease trap pumped the other day.
Yeah, but there should be backflow preventers on any of the water lines, so where the
Yeah.
water's, so none of the sewer can come in. You know, so there should be, I believe there should be some backflow on the water
I
line.
do know one of the.
So it can't, it's more so the water can't go back into the sewer can't go into
Indeed.
the system,
Indeed.
you know, for other people.
One of the sinks I turned on, started coming out brown. They never ran that sink the whole time that they were there. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was an excuse. I ran it for a good, 5-10 minutes, come out crystal clear, you know? But,
I have a question. So is your plan to reopen and allow the Teffy's team to come back in and still run the
Not a
restaurant?
chance.
Are you gonna rebrand and like reopen all fresh?
all fresh. Not even doing a dining room or a bar. I want nothing to do with that at this point.
Can you elaborate, so what kind of restaurant are you looking to open?
Just basically takeout and delivery.
Okay,
You know what I mean? No overhead, no problems.
okay.
So I think I have a couple questions. So you said that the owners of Teffy's sublease from you, so you're the owner of that building and of that establishment?
Not of the building, just the
Just of that establishment?
Yep.
And they use your licenses?
Yes.
And you let it get that bad with your licenses in your establishment? That
Indeed.
is my only concern, is that they were still using your things, and while they were running it day to day, there should have been more follow-up for it to get
Right.
this bad. As someone who's worked in bars and restaurants,
Right.
that takes months before you
Indeed.
notice that that's there. So
Indeed.
how are you preventing that now when all of that was yours anyways?
I'm in there myself, not to make any excuses. I suffered 3 strokes in the meantime during this. You know what I mean? I've been in and out of the hospital. I'm just recovering from getting sick again, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it shouldn't have gone that far. And I've tried, I did what I, you know, tried to do to get them out of there, you know what I mean? You know, legally.
So we have, currently, Chris, we have semi-annual inspections, is that correct?
Yes, twice a year.
Twice a year?
I do want to open up comments. I know we do have comments from the public that could be made. Is the board all right pausing for a moment, allowing those? Do you want to make any comments?
Jason Harris, Constitution Ave, also the building commissioner for the town.
Can you just, it's just the mic so they can hear you at home.
Just before we start, you said you have plumbing and electrician in the building?
Coming.
Working, they're not currently in there?
No.
Okay, good. That's at least good to hear. I think most of this has been covered. I mean, obviously, the building department, as well as emergency services, fire, and PD have some serious issues with this property. You know, it shouldn't go unnoticed that we've had, you know, major use of resources to keep this business under control. And you, as a license holder, haven't seemed to be able to do that, right? And so moving forward, you know, I would start at the beginning. You know, there's supposed to be a placard on the front of the building, right? And that's removed, so ultimately, that's your responsibility. And so whether you took it off, an employee took it off, a stranger took it off, it's your ultimate responsibility to contact, you know, the Board of Health to get a replacement for that.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was off.
But, you know, I could sit here and list 200 things that have been wrong over the course of our relationship with that property. You're going to have to deal with a lot more than just this platform when it comes to the building department, fire department, and police department. I think everything that's been said here can generally be agreed upon. Not one of the things that have been discussed here, you know, should be taken lightly. You got a long road to, you know, to go.
Almost definitely. That's why I said no bar, no dining room.
Yeah. So again, you know, I think you guys have covered pretty much everything, but just to let you know, I mean, this is the first stop of several to get there.
I agree.
But, did you take the placard out?
No, I didn't know.
No cameras there or anything like that?
No, I unplugged everything it is.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, that's it, guys, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you.
Board have further questions for Mr. Armstrong before we deliberate?
I don't think so.
The only other question, Mr. Armstrong, I just want to ask you before you move on and we'll chat here. Do you have any other licenses through the town for anything else, your common vic, anything of that nature? Is this the first thing,
I don't
first stop is
know.
here?
I don't know if Teffy's, see, all their checks, when I put in all the applications, they gave me the checks, and I believe more than half their checks bounced.
Okay.
You know, I mean, so I don't know if that went through. I mean, if not, you know, I'd be more than happy to fill out an app and.
That doesn't come through us, but, you know,
Yeah.
it's more of a baseline for us to understand. Are you coming to us
Right.
first, or
I
is
think the
everyone
only
else still-
license I hold in the town of Abington is peddler's license, sell fruits and produce and whatnot.
So you can hang out up there, you can sit down there, we're just gonna chat, and obviously, if we have to ask you any questions, just come right back up.
All right, good time.
So, all right, open to the board for deliberation on that.
I think based on the seriousness of the violations during, you know, the tenure of the owner, and the new license, obviously, they're trying to get a new shop going, which is all good news. I think what I would do is approve the application with a stipulation that we would go, rather than to semi-annual inspections, that we would do once a month, and that the cost of the inspection would be bared by the applicant.
So you made a motion?
Yeah. Well, I think
let's
that's,
do
I will make a
yeah.
motion
I,
to.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
trying
I
to
still want to talk it out.
Yeah.
I personally think that we need to give Mr. Armstrong some time to rectify some certain things and just get a little more
agree.
specific answers. I know, Jason, you know, you brought up a few things there where you were talking about just other departments in town you need to get sorted out. I think that maybe we need to give him a little bit of time before, if we do grant this to go into effect, so that those things can get sorted out.
I agree. I sympathize with your medical issues, and now that kind of makes it more understandable why you weren't involved. And now that you are involved and going to be present, then, I mean, it sounds like a lot of the balls are starting to roll, but they're not really implemented yet. So I would,
I'm more comfortable, I'll use that term loosely here, with, you know, the, expiration dates and things of that nature, because you are now going to be in charge of
Right.
business
Right.
as opposed to somebody else, so.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
those types of things I think can be easily rectified comparatively, but these other things, I mean, if we're the first stop on that bus, then, you know, I'd like to see some of these things sorted out prior to saying, yeah, let's roll ahead.
for sure.
And you can't have the excuses of, the sign is gone, if the placard's gone from the Board of Health. I mean, you're the one that's responsible at the end of the day, and your name is on it, so you are in charge of whatever happens, on the property, you're responsible for it, whether it was Teffy's before or now. You just have to remember that everything that goes on, you're responsible for. So when you say, we can't continually have excuses, based on your past experience here.
Right.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable providing a permit right now. This is not an establishment that should be serving food in the next, honestly, 30 days, 60 days, given the violations that have been done and the work that needs to be done going into this. There needs to be some serious work, and I think also too, just given the history, we need to make sure that this is on the up and up before we move forward.
So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we ask Mr. Armstrong to join us again on April 22nd, at just about a month from today, to reevaluate this and see if we can just get some clearer answers on some of the things we talked about.
The plumbing especially.
Plumbing.
Maybe a plumber's
Everything.
report would be good. A report from the plumber, just saying that he's cleared.
Plumbing or the building department can,
Oh,
Building
right.
department.
Just having those conversations with the other departments and just getting their,
that everything has been
yeah.
signed off on.
absolutely. So that's my motion.
I'll second that
Second from
motion.
Katie. Any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. So, Mr. Armstrong, 6:05, April 22nd, does that work for you as well? All right, thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us this evening.
Guys, have a good night.
Me too.
Chris, will you hold on to that application in the meantime? You wouldn't require him to fill out a new one?
No, there's
I don't think-
some additional documentation I'll need, and I'll work with him.
Yeah, that's
to
fine.
get
All
that.
right, so,
So
um,
that can.
yeah, so if we can, we'll get those updates between, you working with anybody else that he needs to work through, and just make sure things are kind of sorted out, that'd be wonderful. We can even chat further and make sure that if we want from a plumber, from an exterminator, if we can just communicate that to him.
I think, yeah, for
okay.
sure, we need
Yeah.
reports, multiple reports from all of the red flags. I mean, our job is to make sure that the community's safe, and right now, I don't feel like the community is safe in that specific.
All right, any further discussion on this matter? Nope. All right, so that hearing is closed, and we'll move on to the rest of our agenda for the evening. The next item is to vote to approve minutes from March 4th, 2024. Everyone should have a copy of those.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written for March 4th.
Motion to approve the minutes as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Minutes are approved. Public comment? Anybody else from the public want to make any comments? No? All right. Correspondence. So I want to take this opportunity to just mention, so animal regulations wasn't on the agenda for this evening, so we had a lot going on, so we just wanted to pump the brakes on that for a moment. In relation to that, in a sense, our warrant article for the stable fee, got a lot of questions from the finance committee as to why it's set at that number, why are we doing it now, whatever. One of the things that came out of that was having a definition of stables available. So our next agenda, which is right before town meeting, literally that same day, I will probably be putting on to come up with a definition just for stables, so if that question comes up, we can answer it. But that was just one of the things that came out of that, and I wanted to make it clear, and obviously, if anybody from the finance committee is watching, we will have that available for town meeting, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other correspondence to share from the board or the health department? No? All right. With that, I know it's been a long evening. That is the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Kevin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Katie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We are adjourned.